How come we are talking about Bitcoin with people who have a lot of money and political power? Does Bitcoin really work for everyone? Now that you think about it, this does separate money from the government. Getting governments to mine Bitcoin or have a Bitcoin strategy means they are ready to separate money from the government, since you can't support Bitcoin and the money printer at the same time. And I believe a lot of Bitcoiners don't understand this plan. They think, well, I'll just buy Bitcoin and hold on to it, and the state will go away in the end. I don't think that will happen though. The state will stay around in some way for a while, at least for the near future. But giving them Bitcoin is the best thing we can do. Not really give them Bitcoin, but infuse them with it, and hopefully the government will take on the traits and values of Bitcoin. Governments are mostly made up of people, and those people can be changed for the better. I also believe that Bitcoin does change people and make them better people in general by making them value property rights more and lessening their need for time. What we need to do to get to the Bitcoin promised land or start the Bitcoin movement is to get governments and the people who work for them to adopt Bitcoin. And I think this is how we get to a full split of money in states. They either only accept Bitcoin or mine Bitcoin and stop printing money. And if they take Bitcoin, they are appear in the Bitcoin network, the same as you and me. They're not unique or different anymore. So need is what drives people to use Bitcoin. States that need Bitcoin the most are also the ones that are most likely to use it. Western countries are usually in what they think is a good spot. And they care more about keeping what they have than about the economy improving and getting better. They see how they fit into the world today from different points of view. I would say that Latin American and other countries in the global south really want to grow. I believe this is a driver for El Salvador. They really wanted to get out of this hole they were in, both financially and in terms of safety and security, right? It was the world's murder capital. People now bring their families to visit as a tourist spot. So I would say they put in place a Bitcoin plan because they had to and because they thought it would make them money. They didn't want to be tied to the IMF forever, so they wanted to get out of debt. The same goes for other Latin American countries. They want to get out of harm's way and become wealthy. So Bitcoin is a way for them to get what they want, to help them build and make that growth. Doesn't the IMF give these people loans and investments? Loan sharks also lend money, and if you don't pay them back, they'll break your legs. People don't break legs when they work with the IMF, but they can change economic policy. Because you owe them money, they can tell you what to do and take away your country's freedom. And you can't really get out of this debt trap because you have to keep borrowing money. You need to pay back the loan, and it's really useless unless you have something better like your own money printer. Western countries with strong currencies don't have to take out loans, but if they did, they could print their way out of it. But that's not possible for many governments. And the only way out is to use the Bitcoin plan, either by buying a Bitcoin bond or just buying Bitcoin and holding on to it. This way, the debt will be forgiven as the value of the harder asset rises. A hedge against inflation is Bitcoin. Any given day, Bitcoin might not protect you from inflation, but over time, your prices will always go down if you own it. The same goes for loans. So get Bitcoin right away. I also believe that the first countries to issue a Bitcoin bond will have a huge edge because all of their debt will be paid off with just one bond. When everyone else is in, that unequal bet will no longer exist. So get into Bitcoin before everyone else does. There won't be a huge difference in the amount of wealth between the two groups. How does the ETF, which is a common type of financial asset, fit in with the fact of the nation state? Without a doubt, it's very important. Many people think that Bitcoin is used by criminals, drug sellers, terrorists, and other bad people. Now that it's a legitimate asset class, that idea goes away. It also makes you wonder if this is still a risky product. If it is a real financial object that anyone can buy with an asset that is usually thought of as a safe haven, that changes the whole situation. Being able to say that this is now an ETF makes it easier for us to talk to states and politicians about Bitcoin. BlackRock is in charge of it. Also, BlackRock is one of the world's biggest ESG investments. So the fact that they have a Bitcoin ETF also means that Bitcoin is ESG compliant. Not having Bitcoin is dangerous. We've talked to a lot of companies, fund managers, and even politicians in the past, and they all say that Bitcoin is a risky thing. It has a lot of risk, it changes a lot. But I don't think that's true. That's just repeating what other people have said. That might have been true 10 years ago, but it's not true now. If you're not, I don't think you're a good risk manager. Always reevaluating risk. Because of the ETFs, Bitcoin is now a real currency. You don't have to be afraid of it or think it's dangerous anymore. For now, it's just another asset, but it's becoming one of the fastest growing types of ETFs and is on track to grow faster than gold. So, any risk manager worth their salt needs to have a plan or a way to handle Bitcoin. Many people said that you should buy the rumor and sell the news. I guess they were right because Bitcoin did go down a little after it was approved. But I think that had less to do with how the market was moving and more to do with GBDC closing down and how they set their fees. You could say that this is a victory by any measure if you manage to keep an open mind of any ETF launch or even any IPO. And the market is just adjusting for GBDC's breakup. We're still seeing some of that now that Genesis has been given the go ahead to sell some of their GBDC shares. But the rate of coming in was what people should have been looking at. There are a lot of new funds coming into the ETFs, even though GBDC is selling or unwinding. It's 8 to 10 times more than Bitcoin production if you do the maths, which is something that can't be done for any length of time. Things can go crazy in the market, and the price of Bitcoin was pretty flat for a while. But in the last week or so, it shot up to over $60,000 and is still going up. It just goes to show that you should have seen this coming if you were paying attention and could look at the market rationally. So yes, I do feel like I was right. We should be getting close to 0.1 M now, right? 100K range. If Bitcoin goes up by 2 or 3 times, that's about 300K or 0.3 M. It will be very close to a million if it doubles again. This is already putting us in a very high range where millions is not crazy. It's actually very possible. At the conference, I ran into Lawrence Lippert. He told me, yeah, I've been thinking a lot about your $1 million prediction and I'm starting to see it now. There is a good chance that it will happen, so it looks likely. For some reason, it's hard for us to think about what it would mean for Bitcoin to be worth $1 million each, since that's so far away from now. It's not though if you look at how many times it is. From 100,000, it's a 10x, and from 300,000, it's only a 3x and change. And Bitcoin often does these things like double and triple. Well, there are a few things going on here. It's going to drop from making 900 coins a day to making 450. About 1.2 to 1.3 million coins are moving around on the markets. And you have, I don't know, 6,000 coins that people want every trade day. There isn't much Bitcoin to buy when you look at all the puzzle parts that are in front of you. No one is selling. Almost all of us have hit the point where we're like, sell for what? I might sell something if I needed a house, but I don't. We don't want a Lamborghini or anything like that because many of us don't care about time. We want things to change. And Bitcoin is the end goal for us. Putting money into Bitcoin to get money out is not the point. How many sellers are there? I'm not sure. Some people are going to sell. They're likely to sell it for 100,000, but they'll buy it back when it goes over 200,000.